Hello, How, how's everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing fine. I had a long day and it's still going on, but I'm enjoying my day. It's kind of slow at work, which sometimes is good. But anyway, this one, as I stated before, this YouTube is not an extension, but I did the last one and then I mentioned that I was going to do this one on the phenomena of going back into the cult, the Jehovah Witnesses. And first, I've been saying this. I don't know why. I mean, but it seems like it's really good because now I talk about my credibility because I hear so many people talk about so many things. I'm not talking about ex-Jehovah Witnesses. I'm talking about a lot of things I see, especially on the shorts, okay? And they say things without any credibility whatsoever. So, and also I learned that in college, you should pretty much state like what's your expertise or how you got the information that you're going to express to everybody since it's like so much information now. Um, as I said, okay, this one's going to be on the phenomena of going back into the cult, into the Jehovah Witness cult. Um, I've had, I guess I can say several, if you say three, as far as my family is concerned, which went back. They kind of went out and then they went back. I've met someone also in when I was living in Florida. He was going back. I'm almost sure he was going back. He had been disfellowshipped, and there was just a lot of friends. Like I said, I was a very sociable person. I was very into being a Jehovah Witness, and recently, like I said, for people who not realize, but I'm using the term boxes, going through the boxes. It's like, going through your memories of being a Jehovah Witness and the things that happened, or reflecting back on things, which is it's kind of trying at first. It's really difficult, but now I can see that it was beneficial because I'm able to understand. I mean, I'm able to express in detail a lot of things that I couldn't when I was like afraid to go back. So I'm able to see not just me as far as credibility. I'm able to see myself as credibility also as far as what was in my mind and how I was thinking. That's a phenomenon in itself. Being able to reflect back and see how you were actually thinking. Some people, like I talked to in the comments, are afraid to like go back, which it is a really big deal. I said really take it slow because I took it very slow, and I did it just like open up boxes. I figured out which box I wanted to open up, which memories I wanted to relate to. Even before I do a YouTube, I reflect on it a lot. It's very serious. And it seems even more serious because this topic is really like it's I didn't say one I didn't want to say dark. I wanted to say another word. I don't know how I was gonna put it, but it was another word that I had. But it was like dark, you know what I mean? So this is what happened as far as myself is concerned, which I feel very bad about for the fact that there's been people, and this is one thing I can say that I have a regret for. I've had friends who left or didn't want to go back to go back to the Kingdom Hall, and I actually was involved in bringing them back. One such person I want to say was a friend that just really liked him. He had came into the truth. I say that because it's faster and easier. You know what I'm talking about. And he cleaned up. He was like, I don't know, I can't really describe it, but he, the Jehovah Witness cleanup, to where they, you start dressing up and things like that. And it appears to be like you're getting your life together. And he stopped coming to the meetings. And I really liked him. And I just took my nerve, and I found out where he was. Somebody told me, I don't know. Oh, the person who studied with him told me where he lived. And I just didn't care where it was. And I went to where he lived. I knocked on the door. It was really kind of a scary type neighborhood. Now that I think of it, it was all these like really rough men, rough guys. And I knocked on the door, and I asked to speak to him. And he came to the door, and I told him, we miss you. Why don't you come back to the religion? Now I can tell you my mindset right now. I had no idea. I can actually see myself right now just to come back to something that I was in. It had nothing to do with come back to God, or come back to goodness, or something like that. Just come back. That's all I can describe it. I can see myself right now, and I don't have anything to say to come back to. If he had asked me, what am I going to come back to? I don't know what I would express. I guess I would have told him to the friends, or something like that. Then I had, going on to the next one, I had a best friend, very much a best friend. I even lived with him for a little while, and he stopped going to the meetings. And these are things that I really do regret. And I went to his house, in his room. He was laying in a bed, and I was just talking to him to try to encourage him to go back. And now I can see how disgusting it was. I really wish I didn't. And I kept pounding and pounding and pounding. And I didn't really, and now that I look at myself, I don't know what to tell him to come back to. I mean, I didn't know the Bible. Definitely, like the other one, I didn't know the Bible at all. And just come back. That's all. That's all I'm saying, is that I just want him to come back, okay? His was different because I really liked him, and I liked talking to him, and it had nothing to do with the religion as far as that's concerned. So I didn't know what I could say come back to. So that was two of them, okay? I don't want to say the Bible study that I had. When I was getting ready to leave, okay, because I had stopped going to the meetings, I was just like, so, and pretty much the reason why I said about the dreams too is because I had a lot of dreams and things I wanted to do. And when I got married, I was on my own. I kind of like stopped going to the meetings and started doing things like, music and stuff like that. But I did meet up with my Bible, my mother, I explained it in my earlier videos, so I'm not going to really go into the detail. But there was one Bible study that my mother had, and we were close as far as, knowing them. And I saw them one time. It was a lady and her two children. And I saw them, and everything is detailed in some of the other videos. I had gave my mother this Bible. It was a return visit, and I gave it to my mother, and she turned it into a Bible study. I knew that she was going to turn it into a Bible study. And when I saw her and I was talking to her, I knew she wasn't going to the meeting, but I didn't say anything. And then I talked to her son. There was something that happened to him. He was something, which I put in some of the videos, where he had stole something, and I had to tell him to take it back. We went to the store and took it back. I've detailed it in another video, but I never told him after that. I never told him her son. I never told him about, going back to the religion. So my mind had changed back then. I didn't say anything. And she said she was, and then when I was talking to her, she said that she was, I don't know if I mentioned the Bible studies or anything, but I was very lax as far as that's concerned. Now really getting into the reason or the unknowingness of why somebody would want to go back. Like I said, these people had left, and I helped some people go back, and so what I'm trying to tie into is the people now that left and come back. Okay, so I kind of mentioned that I helped them to come back, and I'm not going to say whether they gone back or not. I'm just saying I helped them come back, and it's going to tie everything in as you see. So then I had a sister who I was working in Montgomery Ward, okay, and this is detailed in one of the videos, but not on this subject. And I was working in the lamp department, and my sister came by with the Donna Summer album, okay? And I know she wasn't going to the meetings, and she had a Jerry Curl, and she was worldly, as 100% worldly. And not one time did I reprimand her or think bad about her, because she's my sister. Little did she ever do that for me. And she showed me a Donna Summer album, which is like, I want some hot stuff, baby, this evening, I want some hot stuff, baby, this evening. I mean, she had her album, and toot toot, a beep beep, and that was about prostitution. And that was definitely out, because my stepfather actually, when I was playing hot stuff, he actually made me throw away the record and break it. So anyway, I saw her, and she went out. She was out of the religion, and I mentioned this before. And I remember going to her house, and I know that she smoked marijuana. This is when it was really bad. And I act like I didn't smell it, and I would visit her, and I could smell the marijuana, and she was always using incense. And then my brother, who was out of the truth, also told me about, should I say it? Yeah, because everybody's old. I mean, I already said everything. It's gone. It's over. Everything is over with. I mean, there's no even sense in looking at it, because nobody even cares now. Okay, so I'm almost sure she had a girlfriend. Okay, because my brother let me know. Okay, it was like so obvious. And I want to say that she was the happiest that I've ever seen her. I'm not talking about what my brother said, because that was his story, because he lived with her. They had an apartment when she left the organization. And I remember, there's so many stories. So I remember her then. I remember another time when I went to her job. She did pretty well for herself, because she took accounting courses. So she was working in this hospital, and I went to visit her, okay? And she was out, totally out of the organization, okay? And never, not one time did I say anything bad about her, because I was in the organization. And this is about the phenomena of going back. So, she had like this chauffeur that goes around, taking employees, especially if they were like, they had nice positions. I guess she worked in the HR department or something like that. And, we went to the cafeteria, she says, and they had this van that chauffeurs us to the cafeteria, because it was a pretty big place. And she was so happy. I mean, like, so happy. Like, you would never believe. I mean, I've seen her happy like that when she was in high school. Okay, that's when I seen her that happy in herself. And and now she's much older. Now I guess she was like in her 30s. So we went to this cafeteria, and she showed me this guy. She goes, "Look at that guy." She goes, "He's back then they didn't say gay." She goes, "He's a homosexual, and 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 she was like telling me, like don't judge him or whatever. 'Cause, of course I didn't judge him, but she knew that she could tell me that, and she goes, "You know what? He's the nicest person." She goes, "I needed $200, and he lent me $200." And I remember him, and I saw him, and I was Jehovah, straight 100% Jehovah Witness, and it did not faze me. And I said, "Hi, how are you doing?" And I never put that wall, the Jehovah Witness wall, up. And he was a nice person, very nice person. And I talked to her, and she was just as happy as can be. I mean, like, just herself. That's what I want to say. Happy, but herself. I know there's problems and stuff like that, but she was herself. And I would never, ever think that she would want to go back. But one time, this is a while she was out, and I was coming out, coming out of Jehovah Witness, and I knew I wanted to come out like really bad. It was like the time, which helped me out. I think it's around the time that Michael Jackson was was um was was leaving the Jehovah Witnesses, and that helped me out a lot. And I didn't leave because of him, but it was nice to know. And I took her to this movie. I said, Annie, let's go to this movie. And it was like an R-rated movie. It was like, okay, I'm going to this R-rated movie. And she said, okay. And we went to the movie together. It was so nice. I forgot the name of the movie, but it was, let me see, not Indecent. It was with Glenn Close. It was a rough movie. Glenn Close, but I could handle it because I was coming out to the truth. I was coming out of the, it was like, I forgot the name of it if I come up with it, but it was an R-rated movie, and we saw the movie. And I know she was enjoying it, even though she was going like this, and then we were walking, and after the movie, and I was saying like really strange things, like, I wanted to come out, and I was happy that I was with her. Anyway, after that, when I decided to come out of the Jehovah Witness, I went to her job because I was smoking. You're not supposed to smoke. That's one thing I wanted to do. And I had smoked, and then I had Benson and Hedges in my pocket. And I went to her job in her office. And I said, "Can I speak to my sister?" And I went to her office, and she was there. And I said, "Annie," I showed her my cigarettes, and she was like this, And then I told her, I go, "I'm leaving the Jehovah Witness." And I thought she was going to be happy, but she wasn't. Not that she wasn't. She didn't show me then, but she had made the decision to go back to the Jehovah Witnesses. Now, she went back, and as I look back, I can see the reason why she would want to go back and why people would want to go back. It's like I said, this is a phenomena of going back. Why would somebody want to go back if they're themselves? They're so happy, okay? But now I understand it better. It's still a phenomena. It's still unreasonable. It's still something that cannot be explained. But I have more. I was listening to a video, and I'm going to put it on since I saw the Ex-Jehovah Witness video about this girl who was doing, she knew that she was doing wrong, okay? And she went to this church, and this guy that she hooked up with, not hooked up, but they became friends, and he helped her in the church, and she was doing better, but she still had her problem. And she was going to the church, and she knew that she still had a problem, but she kept doing bad, okay? But she could feel that, and even she cried. When she first went to the church, she cried and everything. And this is an extra in this video. I'm going to put it up. I'm going to put the thing up. And she cried and everything, and it helped her. And she hooked up, like, I'm sorry for saying hook up, but she got this guy, one of the guys in the church, and he was helping her. It seems like they were in a relationship, but she was still doing wrong things. And then they were in a relationship, and she was doing wrong things against him that she wouldn't explain, I mean, in that video. But I understand, then she found, making a long story short, she found this, her brother was studying Jehovah Witnesses, and what I gather from her is that she saw it was a place to hide. And it's true, it's a place to hide, because in the church, one thing people don't realize in these things, the message that we're trying to explain, is that when you're out and you go to church and things like that, nobody's going to tell you, but God is there, and God wants to see you do something. You have to face who you are. You just can't do anything. But in a Jehovah Witness, you can hide. And you can hide from God, because like I said, when I was Jehovah Witness, I couldn't hide. It's still a phenomenon, like I said, because I haven't figured it out totally why somebody would want to hide in the religion. So it's like my sister, okay? I knew she had to face, and from what my brother told me, because he lived with her, she had to face herself. I mean, she's happy and she's herself, but when you believe in God, because God is out there, I'm sorry, God is in the world, when you have to face who you are. I mean, it's nice and everything out here, and you find God, but with God, like I said, with the girl, she could see, even though she knew she was wrong, she knew that she had to do something. You have to do something. But from what I gathered, the way she was talking, the Jehovah Witness, it was a place for her to hide. And it was like my sister. She was coming to the point where she had to do things. You just can't do anything. But in the Jehovah Witness, you can throw everything under the carpet. And she actually, I'm almost positive, I'll look over it again, but it was like she was saying it was a place to hide. Nobody's going to say this, nobody's going to say, but to me, it was a place to hide from God, Because at Jehovah's Witness, I was afraid. I didn't want God to see me. You know what I mean? I knew I could hide things from the governing body. It's easy to. I mean, just think, if you have the governing body, they can't see you do this and do that. Okay, so you could do, as long as you're very careful, you can hide from the people, you can hide from the Jehovah Witnesses. Like I said, I wore disguises. You can hide from the brothers, and you can hide from the governing body. But when you get out here and there's God and you find God, you can't hide from him, okay? But you can hide from him in the organization, because he's not going to go in. He's not going to go in unless you want him to go in, or unless he wants you, like he wanted, evidently, a lot of the ex-Jehovah Witnesses. So now I can see partly why she would want to go back, okay? Because going back into her Jehovah Witness, she didn't have to worry about anything. That's all she had to do is just do what she has to do, and she has her friends and everything like that, and she doesn't have to face herself, okay? But I know there's no way in the world. I already know they can't fool me. I told you I've been around. I've seen all my brothers and sisters, and I had a lot of friends. And I know that they have their little pockets, their pockets in their boxes. So that's one. So that's showing you part of the phenomena of why somebody, kind of opening up the phenomena of why somebody would want to go back. And I didn't have that reason until I actually kept thinking about this YouTube here. My brother, okay, I lived with him in his house. He was this fellow. So my sister did go back and she lined herself up with the Jehovah Witnesses. Then I have a brother who was disfellowshipped. It's detailed in the other videos, but I'm just generalizing it now. And he was disfellowshipped. So when I got disfellowshipped, we got disfellowshipped around the same time. But when I lived in his house, this is not one of my brothers is disfellowshipped, he was just out. This is another one who is disfellowshipped, but he wants to go back, definitely. So I was in his house, and it was really strange. But I was out, and I was doing music, which helped me out a lot. Heavily doing music, and I had a band. And I was in his house. I remember the first time I entered his house, I helped him out with my worldly self to get his foot back into the... He didn't want to start his business. He was just doing nothing. And I helped him build his business back, but he didn't realize it. But at first, I went into his house, and we were like, the first day I went into his house, I was telling him he had to do something. The lights were out. He wasn't paying his bills, and he had a business, and he wasn't doing anything in his business. And I said, you can't do this, Gerald. You have to do something. You know what I mean? And I said, where am I going to stay? Because he had bedrooms. He had a house. And I said, can I stay here? He goes, no, you can't stay here. This is my sunroom. And can I stay here? No, this was me and my wife's room because he had split from his wife, And then I said, can I stay in this guest room? He goes, no, you can't stay here because I'm staying in there. And I go, well, where can I stay? He goes, I don't want you to, you can't stay here because you're bad association. He told me, he was disfellowship, and I was disfellowship, and he says I was bad association. So you know that he's going to go back. So that's the phenomena of why in the world somebody would want to go back. But he called me back soon after. It's detailed in the other videos. He called me back because he needed help, because I did wake him up a little bit. And he beeped me. This is when we had the beepers. And he said, I'm going to pick you up. And I picked him up. He picked me up. And I came back to help him with his business. Okay. And it was there was something that was so bleak. That's the word I wanted to use. It's so bleak. This is the bleak things I'm talking about. And there was something that happened there. It's detailed in my other videos, and I don't want to go over it again because it's already let out. And he lived in that type of situation, and it didn't affect him. Now, clearing this up, it didn't affect him at all. That's the phenomena. Is that why if this person believes that they're God and stuff like that? And they don't even talk about the Bible. Like when they're doing bad, they don't talk about the Bible. I want to go back to God. I know I'm doing wrong. They don't say things like that. Like the lady video that I saw that I'm going to post up in my here so you can go see it. When she was going to church and she knew she was doing bad, she goes, I know that I was doing bad. There's nothing like that. The only thing they say is I want to go back. Okay, and that's what my brother was saying. He wanted to go back. But in his house, it was just it was disgusting. I mean, I'm not talking about anything. You have to see the videos back. I'm talking about from a spiritual point of view. You know what I mean? And the only thing that helped me is, like I said, I was doing a lot of things in the music. And I told him about it, and I told him the bleakness in his house. and he would not do anything at all. It was like it didn't even flinch him whatsoever. He was like in the bed, just there, not talking. I mean, he didn't talk to me like, I got to do this, I got to do this. He wasn't encouraging me. He said he wanted to go back, but he wasn't encouraging me. That's another thing. Somebody's doing, I'm just worried about that. But anyway, so he ended up going back full force, okay? And I don't understand why, but that's another reason. That's another person that was going back just for no reason. I mean, so that's another thing going back. There was person, okay, I think because it's going so long, now it's 30 minutes. So the point I want to make here is it has to be something. One thing I want to stress before I finish this about going back. I remember I was going to go back, okay? And I was going back to the meetings. Okay, I went back to one meeting. It was a disaster. I put it in the other videos, earlier videos. And then I want to stress this. When I went back the second time, I was sitting with my mother, okay? And my stepfather was there, and I was sitting with her, and my ex-wife was next to me. This is when that bleakness that I'm telling you about is worse than bleakness, but I'm not going to explain it again because it's my early videos. It's terrible. It's disgusting. And from a spiritual point of view. And I was there going back again. The second time I went back to the Jehovah Witness. And I heard someone else in their other videos talk about Ex-Jehovah Witness, talk about this. And they said, get up for the song. And evidently, I can explain it better now because I have more knowledge. Evidently, what had happened was the thing that was tying me to the Jehovah Witness must have, because I mean, God is out. God was with me then, okay? He was with me, and he wanted me to come out, okay, of that religion. And he must have gotten me, he must have had a hold on me, because when they got up to sing the song, this darkness and bleakness, like my brother's house, came over. I could see it, not over me. It was like everywhere in the whole Kingdom Hall. And I have never seen anything like this in the Kingdom Hall. And it was so disgusting. And I've heard it said in the Ex-Jehovah Witness tapes like this before, of how dead it was. Like I said, I mean, it must have been lifted off of me. And I just had to get out of there. And I said I had to go. And I left right after that. I couldn't even stay for the meeting at all. And I left the meeting. So it's a phenomenon for anyone to want to go back there. But it's something there. And that's why we have to keep on. And I didn't want to do this tape because it was like, you don't want to, but like the girl was telling me that I'm going to post, she's saying you have to because you're helping other people, okay? And thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope that this has helped a lot of people and made the Ex-Jehovah Witnesses stronger. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.